Now then, what that also means... I screwed up already. What's going on? This is episode 2 then, really, isn't it?
Episode 2, looking at episode 1 of Tales of the Unexpected.
So welcome, which is handy, because that's what this podcast is all about. The unexpected tales, about the tales of the unexpected tales. I think I might have got...
I'm not sure how many tales were involved there.
There's one tale, which is surrounded by the tales that we're telling, and the tales that they are telling. There's 4 tales.
4?
I think. This was...
Sorry, go on.
This is episode 1, Tales of the Unexpected, 1979, called The Man from the South. We spoke very briefly about this last time, and the fact how it kind of influenced a few things. I think we'll come to that later anyway. But so it was introduced by Roald Dahl. It's a Roald Dahl book. He mentions right at the very start of the episode that it takes him... he's been writing these stories for 30 odd years, and he writes slow. Why was he saying this?
Well, I was sort of looking at the language that he uses in there, because last time I was saying to you, do you think that he sort of tries to create an air of mystery around it? And I noticed that he starts it off by giving the viewer a warning.
I made a note of that as well. There is a warning. But the warning is it might be quite bad. You might be unsettled by this.
Unsettled, right?
Yeah.
And then he carries on, and he says when he's writing, he's haunted by the thought.
He is.
That's what he said.
Yes, he did say that. Yeah.
And I thought that's an interesting use of the word. Is he sort of getting that sort of spooky vibe going then? Because
so what you're saying is that surplus to the story, he's also adding a little bit of mystery before the story's even been told.
Yeah, he's sort of setting the scene by sort of clever use of words, as well as how he's saying it.
Well,
because he then goes on to say that he's haunted by the fact that he feels he has to hold the reader's attention for every second, otherwise I'm dead.
Yeah.
Now, he's not really, it's not the sort of thing you'd normally say.
No.
You say otherwise it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So we've got there haunted, dead, and that sort of unsettled.
Yeah.
And so I think he's playing with our minds before they throw us into the show.
Which is good, because if you catch episode 1, you now know, right, okay, and sort of know you don't need to remind me again.
Yeah.
It's episode 2.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see what his kind of like thoughts are at the beginning. But it is quite nice. It's a nice setup, okay? Because he goes in, and it was filmed in Jamaica.
It was on location.
On location. That's what I meant. Yes.
But on that point, I'm thinking, why? What was the need to film that in Jamaica? It's essentially a 2-room play.
Yes.
You could. I mean, it starts off obviously with them looking out to sea, and the American guys playing in the sea. But you could easily have them walking into, say, a hotel lobby, an interior of some sort.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is his hotel room. So it could, they could have done that at Shepperton or somewhere like that. What's the need to go out to Jamaica for it?
Let's just rewind a little bit. It starts off with a guy who is nameless. I've written his name down from the credits, but you never find out his name in the episode. And his name is Ralston, just a regular English guy on holiday. He says he's on holiday and overwalks this guy who is called Carlos. You don't know his name, I don't think, until right at the very end.
Yeah.
But he walks over, he's got a Spanish accent, but he's talking in English.
And when he first comes over, the way that he approaches the English fellow, what's the English fellow called?
Ralston.
It appears that there's no connection between them at all.
No, they're met just at that point in time. Yeah.
But later on, some of the things that Ralston says make me wonder, is he somehow in on this?
Well, I made a note of this because and I was exactly the same. I figured maybe when this was broadcast, 1979, there's that innocence to it that I perhaps don't have being in 2016.
Yeah.
That actually it's not unforeseeable that this could have been a ruse concocted by the two guys.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So had I not known how this ends, would that have been the twisty ending? That this was a ruse? Because that could have been the unexpected ending. That they're like, hey,
Yeah.
Carlos, we've done it again.
A little bit like the Steve Martin film, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's like that. Yeah. What's the English stuff that happens? There was The Hustle. So they kind of like it's a quite a big performance to get the outcome that they both want. And that's not obviously the way that this pans out. So whether that's a spoiler or not, I'm not too sure. But they have just met at this point, and he sits. He says, "Can I sit here?" He sits down, and they have a little bit of a chit chat, and then he says, "Who are all these people?" And because they're on a beach, there's a lot of people playing in the sea, and then the guy says, "I think they're learning to be sailors." But I didn't know whether that was flippant because there's a lot of people in the sea. It's like, they're learning to be sailors. But it turns out there's kind of an American naval base there, and they're actually literally learning to be sailors, which is hilarious. There's a cut scene to the girl who's Pamela Stevenson in this.
Yeah, just a year before, not the 9 o'clock news.
Ah, right, okay, yeah, of course.
Which would obviously make her famous.
At that point in time, famous. Would she have been the draw to this, perhaps?
Well, as I say, not 9 o'clock news was a year after this. So this was before
right.
she was famous.
I thought you meant that.
No.
Okay, so in which case, so she's relatively unknown.
Yeah. So I think the draw would be Jose Ferrer, Carlos.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously famous, and George Clooney's uncle twice.
Really?
Yeah.
What will happen to the first time?
Well, he married George Clooney's auntie, Rosemary Clooney.
Oh,
they got divorced. Yeah. He married somebody else. They got divorced, and then he remarried Rosemary Clooney. When marimba rhythms start to play, dance with me, make me sway.
Okay, so yeah, just going back, Pamela Stevenson screams and leaps out of the water, and I thought there was a nice link to. But the Jaws was filmed 75. Jaws 2 would have been out, so maybe there was that kind of like, we're in the sea. It's kind of like, there's the.
Well, I tell you what, I was a bit surprised. I don't know if it's just my character, this, or whether it's because of my wife and how she is. But I thought there was a lot of unnecessary roughness in the sea there.
Well, yeah, right. So this is that thing, isn't it? It's kind of like the director goes. Right, what you want to do is be frolicking.
Yeah.
And that's probably all the direction that he gave them.
Yeah.
And then they're...
But, because Elle, she can't stand it if you're in the pool, and if I was to splash her, she would go mental. If I was to pull her, push her under the water or something, she'd probably never speak to me again. And she made that clear to me the very first time that we went into the pool, anywhere, because she'd had a boyfriend who'd done it, and that was about it for them. So maybe I'm viewing it in the context of my own relationship there, but it just because it's also, I think, comes clear that he's only just met her.
Really? Oh, right.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a new relationship?
I do.
What, whilst they're in Jamaica?
Yeah, I really believe that he's only just met her.
So what is she then? She's a holiday goer and he's stationed
he's a
there?
Cadet. Although she could also be a cadet.
Do you think... Right, okay, so this... I may come back to this later, but the point of this story is going to dabble with losing something that may be becoming quite important to him as part of this bet that's going to happen. So no spoilers at this stage. But if he is training to be a cadet, you'd imagine that he'd need everything, like all body parts, right? Like even though he probably doesn't use it now, like maybe it would have been of use at some point.
And at a later point, he does say that he's never used it. He has a bit of a soliloquy on a little finger. But I would sort of take issue with that. I mean, Have you ever used your little finger
On my left hand.
in your left hand?
I'm sure I have.
Well, I use it to clean my ear out, my left
What?
ear. You know, if I'm in the shower.
A little ear? What, even your left... Oh, I suppose your left ear.
Yeah, because obviously, you know, I know you're not supposed to put things down your ears and, you know, don't be doing that at home. But if you're going to clean it with the soap and that, then my other fingers are too big.
Well,
Whereas
I've
that's ideal
checked
fit.
my pointy finger on my left hand just now, and that's fine. So
Oh.
I'd probably stick with the lip.
You've perhaps got the advanced ear canal there, whereas mine is sort of like the
I don't know. I'd use it... Maybe I've just got little fingers.
Yeah, well that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle doesn't like people... She doesn't like ears and pointing. So
Both she doesn't like, ears or pointing, or
she doesn't like it
of the two.
Yeah, she doesn't like it when people meddle with their ears.
Right.
Talks about their ears, or sticks, or like points, and that putting a finger in an ear, that drive her fucking mental.
What I find strange is, I know that, I think this is one of those things, everybody says, don't put it in your ear, and obviously you're not supposed to. But then what are cotton buds sold for, really, if not for that?
Oh god, yeah, but you get a lot of them, don't you?
Yeah, hundreds of them.
Maybe they are. Maybe they're to remove just extra bits of stuff, but not like to go all the way in. You won't go all the way in, which is why the finger in the ear is quite good, because it stops.
A natural stop.
You can't go any further than a certain distance, can you?
So, returning to which finger do you use, you might be better off using a thicker finger.
No. I mean, yes. Yes, no. Yes. I'd stick with the big finger there. Her name is Kathy, which is the only time that a name is kind of called out in the programme. The army guy's name is... We don't know if he's in the army, right? I've just suddenly realised, even though that's the insinuation that was led to us...
Or Navy.
Or the Navy, yeah. So there was never any point which said, you know, you're here other than being on holiday, which is why I didn't see them just meeting. I think that probably this might have been their first time on holiday together. But Jamaica in the 70s, that'd have been a big holiday, right?
It would, yeah.
So maybe they lived over there, something like that. His name is Tommy, by the way.
Right.
Okay, so Tommy and Kathy get out of the sea onto the drying off. He says, do you want a drink? So they go over to this little parade where the two guys are now sat. And he sort of like makes... it's a casual question. Is anybody sat here? They go, no, you're quite welcome. Go and sit down. And it's a sort of like, I guess, a bit of a gesture. He says, do you want a cigarette? The English guy, Rawson, takes the cigarette, and then I guess that's when the kind of the real conversation starts, because they talk about this. He says,
we'll talk about why they're all there, I think.
Oh right, yeah. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Yeah.
They ask Carlos. Carlos is asked if he's there on holiday.
On holiday.
And
this is important, yeah, of course, because he says, the guy, Rawson says, I'm here on holiday. Carlos, you don't know why he's there, other than the fact his wife has forced him.
Yeah, that's right. And that's obviously something that becomes clear later on in the show.
Yes.
But you wouldn't get that necessarily on a first watch.
On a first watch, yeah, okay, because the wife is then no longer mentioned.
Yeah.
In fact, we then say, he says, in offering this cigarette, so we go back to the cigarette bit, he says, do you need a lighter? He says, no, I've got one. And then there's a conversation about how it might not work.
Yeah, and he's the American, he's sort of really proud about his lighter.
Yeah. Well, it's a Zippo, but I'm guessing that even in this age, they wouldn't have been able to use a product name.
No,
right.
But it is quite clearly a Zippo.
It's definitely a Zippo, and also, I think I know Zippos are, because they're petrol, they're petrol lighters, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
They are super kind of good, aren't they?
Reliable.
Reliable. That's what I meant. So we're led to, at the moment, if you know nothing about the story, the guy's got a lighter that he's super proud of and claims that it never fails him.
He does, and I noticed that when he says it never fails, he says, not with me, and he looks at the girl, Kathy.
Oh, so
which
she's
I
failed.
think is I think it's a bit of a double entendre about his sexual prowess.
Oh, the lighter represents.
Which is maybe why he's prepared to bet on its potency.
Right. Okay. I never got that. It's interesting. Yeah, because of course it would. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? That you could say.
Yeah.
You could say it's as good as my libido.
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah. And at that point there, it seems to be quite a flippant claim, right?
Yeah.
There's no big deal about it. It's just it works. So then there's a little bit of a to and fro in about how it goes. Oh, so if you think it's going to light on every occasion, then let's have a bet. Let's bet. I'll bet you that it won't light 10 out of 10. Well, I don't think he says it straight up there, but that's where we're going to.
Yeah, and as you say, it's a really sort of gentle intro into it. Let's have a bet, and so it sounds quite.
Yeah, so this bet, it starts off as the guy saying, I can bet $5-10, and he says, no, I like to bet, and let's have a big bet. So, and Oyosi says, let's have some fun as well, which I thought was really, really nice. That kind of, because in this, Roald Dahl set it up that this is going to be unsettling, and then you've got this old guy who is making a bet that might not. Who's this going to work for, right? Okay,
yeah.
And then but then sort of it says, let's have some. I want this to be fun. And that there's something quite creepy about that.
Yeah, especially when you think of the terms of the bet.
Exactly,
that's his idea of fun.
Now, we know later on that this is a bet that this isn't the first time he's had this particular bet or this idea.
Yeah, well, we know that it's not perhaps the first time that this particular forfeit has been.
This forfeit rather than the bet, yeah. Which the bet is he needs to light the lighter, the Zippo, 10 times consecutively, and he says, I will stake my Jaguar. Jaguar.
Which I think, do they use that in order to explain the title Man from the South?
Right, so...
Because he's like from South America. Which then would explain perhaps why it's set in Jamaica. Because if it was set in sort of Elvedon or something...
Elvedon?
In England somewhere. Shepperton.
Oh God, I thought you were talking about Middle Earth for a minute. Hobbiton. Where Elvedon? Where's Elvedon?
I don't know.
Elstree?
Elstree.
The studios?
Yeah, I went there. Is that where they do Big Brother?
It was one of them, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was. It's the James Bond soundstage.
Oh yeah. Where they've been doing some EastEnders stuff. No, EastEnders, Emmerdale.
Yeah, you know that though, don't you? You've got links to Emmerdale, haven't you?
Yeah. My daughter was in it.
Yeah, that's right. But she and Big Brother, she sorted out the furniture for Big Brother, didn't she?
Yes, she did. Yeah. So I got to go along to that, which I thought was at Elstree.
Which year was the Big Brother you went to?
It was the year that Jim Davidson won.
It was the celebrity year. He won it.
Yeah, he did. And we were there in the crowd. It became obvious by a process of elimination that Jim Davidson was going to win. And
why did it become clear?
Well, because
at home we didn't know.
Right.
So why did you think it was going to become clear?
Well, because there'd been sort of 4 of them left, and when 3 of them had been ejected, there was only 1 left. And so, it might have been when there were 2 of them left, But I'm thinking, I don't really hold with Jim Davidson's political views.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually want to be there as part of the crowd that was sort of seen to be celebrating somebody with those views.
Who was the host of the show?
Emma.
Oh, it was a Channel 5 year, was it?
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
So, in fact, it'd be about 3 years ago.
Right, okay.
So, I asked if we could leave. There was a lot of hoo-ha, a lot of to and fro-ing, but eventually we were escorted off-site and I didn't have to watch it.
You've never told that to me before. That's brilliant. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh. So returning to the story, then we've got this bet. The bet is set up, and he says, "Here's my car," and he says, "Well, I have got nothing like that to offer."
Yeah.
So he says, well, I've got an idea, right? This is Carlos. You can lose a small thing, and that's what he uses, a small thing. It says, like your little finger. He says, "We'll chop it off."
Yeah.
And then he goes, "No, this is." Fuck you, that's a crazy bit. To be honest, I don't know why they're taking this seriously. I'd just go, you know, when you're like out and you're with somebody and you sort of like say, you nod and agree because you don't quite understand what this, and you just think, I'll just get rid of this conversation by just nodding and agreeing.
Yeah, and what I would do there, I would nod and agree, and then I would have sort of flashed a bit of a look at Elle to say,
"Are we off?"
Yeah, because this man's a little bit strange, and I don't really want to be involved with
it. Which is interesting you say that, because so far anything that could happen now could be deemed as unexpected, right? Okay,
yeah,
because it's just a bizarre thing to happen. This is an unexpected bet.
Yeah,
this is an unexpected set of circumstances. So you're right. You're probably right. Going back to what you said last week, which was about at what point are we meant to think this is the unexpected bit?
Yeah. Well, you're right. Yeah.
So he says he, I guess. I don't want to say that he agrees to it at this stage, but it's becoming more and more apparent. The guy's getting more. Come on, let me see how far I can push this.
Yeah.
And he says, "Let's go and have a look at this car then."
Well, before that happens, this is the bit where I started to wonder whether the two people, the English guy and Carlos, were in cahoots.
Is that because Ralston says, "Could I have a light?"
Yeah.
Oh, well, I made a note of that, and I've just realised. Yeah, of course.
And you know, that sort of is bringing him back to that sort of conversation, which has sort of ended really, because after the Americans turned it down, he's basically sort of turned his back on him, hasn't he? And then he's sat at a different table. But it's brought back into it there, and I thought, are these guys together? Because up until then I'd taken it to face value, which was that they didn't know each other.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Could I have a light, takes the light, and then tampers with it in case he does. You know, he could have done that. As it happens, Ralston looks to be legit. Right.
Yeah, well, yeah.
However, Ralston comes out with some really stupid. So after this initial meeting, and he has the casual conversation, the rest of his script is basically, "Are you serious?" And then it's kind of like, and then he goes, "Look, let's finish this. This is some sort of joke or something like that." And then towards the end, he says, "Thank God, this." Oh, there's an insane idea as well. But all he is left to do is really dismiss this bet. But he's still part of the witnesses, I guess.
Well, you see, coming back to though, is he in cahoots with Carlos, right? What they do in order to sort of persuade the American, sort of like any car salesman will do, he'll say, "Come and have a seat in it," you know.
Yes.
And at that point, he says, Ralston, "It's a very fine car. I wouldn't mind having it myself." Now,
so he's doing that reverse psychology thing, or could be. There's a couple of reverse psychology points I mentioned in here. It's mainly by Carlos, who says, "No, you don't worry about it."
Americans don't bet. Yeah. That sort of thing. Yeah.
So it gets to the point again. He gets in the car just on that. One of the unexpected bits that I was expecting was the fact that this wasn't his car. And you were just going to see him touch the outside of it and then walk off. But no, he lets him get in. That's his car, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're led to believe at this stage. Now, what I did was I researched what the number plate was worth.
Oh, right.
So the number plate is ND4
Right.
And an ND4, I couldn't get the exact match for that, right? It's clearly a private number plate, though. Or, well, not to say clearly, may not be clearly, but it's a was it a luxury? Deluxe? Cherished, yeah. So one of those sort of like special number plates. Yeah. £26,000.
Really?
We buyanycar.com reckons. Oh. Anyway, so they go back to their room at this stage, and by this stage, Tommy looks like, right, I'm going to go through with it. Then this really bizarre thing happens. So first of all, I missed this because I was researching the the kind of the car number plate. But
Right.
what's Ralston doing in the room? Did they say you need to come back as well?
Well, this is, going back to the thing that I keep bringing up, and obviously I'm not prepared to let go. Ralston agrees to go to the room to act as judge.
I missed the conversation.
Yeah,
Right.
so you've got a situation where one guy is potentially going to have his finger cut off.
Yeah.
You don't know anybody there, and you decide to get involved in this by being a judge in it.
Yeah.
If this all goes wrong, which there's a big chance of it, then you're sort of party to it, aren't you? If you didn't know, you'd sort of leg it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, he does keep saying, "Come on, let's call it a day and stuff." But it's fallen on deaf ears. And Pamela Stevenson, what's her name, Kathy. Kathy is just like she's not really said much to protest this.
No.
However, she's a good actress, and she's letting us know that I'm not entirely sure this is right. Okay, then this I love this line. Carlos says to the maid, calls her in and then says, "Get me 3 things." There's this it's like a wonderful bit of script, which I don't quite understand why it happened. But what was he thinking of? What were the 2 things, and what's the extra?
What sort of did he think? Oh no, go on! I need that one as well.
Yeah. But it's wonderful because it feels like it's quite impromptu.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a ruse. I think he genuinely thought, no, I can't have 2. I need 3 things of these things.
But why would that happen, right? Because we later discover, as we've sort of already alluded, this is not the first time that this forfeiture. Therefore, if you are a sort of person who makes a career or a hobby out of doing this sort of thing, you know exactly how many things you wanted.
Yeah.
Is he not sure what he's got? Because he's obviously got some equipment. Because he's got rope or string to tie his hand down. So, is it that he's thought, I've come out without me chopper?
So he refers to it as chop chop.
Quite a few times, isn't it?
Which is because it's that playful term for such a
which brings
vicious
us back
thing.
To the fun.
Exactly, yeah.
Because that's what it is for him.
So, just to recap then, he's got the guy in the room, the guy's accepted the bet. The bet is that he's going to have to light his lighter 10 times in a row. If he misses one of those occasions, then his little finger comes off. And in order to secure his hand to the table, Carlos hammers some nails into the table, and then puts the fist in between the nails, and then wraps twine around the nails, securing the hand in place on the table.
I mean, as we say, he gets some of these items from the maid.
Chop chop.
But I sort of wonder, what sort of hotel is it where you can ask for a chopping board? A chopper, sorry, not even a chopping board. A chopping board would be a good idea because he nails straight into the hotel table.
Yeah.
And nails and a hammer. The sort of places I stay, you're lucky if you can get a cup of tea after 9:30. If I went down to reception and asked them for those sort of things, they'd throw me out.
Oh, there's no way you could get a cleaver now, right? Which is what it is. If you haven't seen the episode, it's a cleaver, right? That's what they call it, a butcher's cleaver.
Yeah.
One of those sort of like mad butcher type things.
They're having cartoons.
That's
like you might chase a rubber chicken with. Or
they
like
don't have to be mad butchers. Actually, no, all butchers aren't mad. Carlos is tied, his hand is tied, his little pinky's out, the rest of his hand is in a fist. And then this is where the beautiful camera shots happen. Have a look to see who directed this episode and who's the director of photography, because there's some the lighter lighting up, the cleaver hovering over the little finger, the hand, the faces. It's just beautiful. This point, we're getting into the kind of like, right, this is definitely going to happen. Pamela Stevenson comes over again and just says, "Stop." Oh no, she says that later. She's kind of like confirming this can't be real. This can't be really happening. And then the bet is on. Right,
Michael Tuchner.
So well done, Tucho, for touche, because we now know this can only end badly. We know that, right? Okay, this is going to end badly for somebody.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Either somebody's going to lose a car, or
somebody's going to lose a car, or a finger, or they're going to get sent to prison, or be declared mad, or something like that. Okay.
I mean, I'll tell you what I was thinking as well. How would you prepare for this bet? Because if I was bet that my lighter, which, to be honest, I developed an interest in Zippo lighters, not like a fixation or anything like that, you know. But after seeing that Zippo, when I'd be 14 when I saw this, it became my sort of goal to get one. Now, I don't smoke at all, therefore there's no real justification. But I did subsequently buy myself a Zippo lighter.
I didn't buy one, I was given one. In an old job, some colleagues bought me a Zippo lighter as a thank you, engraved my name on the front, and I tried to practice those tricks.
Yeah.
You know, I managed two of the tricks, and to be honest, that's all I needed.
Well, I can't do the tricks, but my daughter's boyfriend, Tom, he can, but he doesn't with my Zippo. And it always makes me really anxious when he does, because I think he's going to snap the latch off or something like that. Because he flicks it up in the air, sort of thing like that.
That was the thing, is that you can. It's like on a bounce. It's like, you know, when skateboarderists, they kind of like leap off the floor and the skateboard comes with them.
Yeah, how does that happen?
Well, I don't know,
because the feet aren't fixed to the thing.
Well, the Zippo lid does the same. Is you sort of like bounce it down, and then you up against your thigh.
Really thin latch really worries me. You know, I mean, another thing.
Yes.
That I wonder if it's come from this is my sort of views on betting, because I will bet. I buy lottery tickets and stuff like that, but I've got very fixed views. I would never bet something that I wouldn't be prepared to lose. I don't mean body parts. I mean, I wouldn't bet them, but if I go to the races, I don't use bookies or anything like that because it's £5 minimum bet. I couldn't stand to lose £5.
I sort of agree with you that there's quite a risk involved. My theory, because I don't bet again, just do the lotteries, but when people tell me that they've bet on a series of football matches and some came up and some didn't come up, but they're up, right? I won £200, and I'll be honest here, I'm really jealous. Okay, but the thing is, I can't be that jealous because I know I could do something about it. I've got enough money that I can bet on something.
Yeah.
I just don't want that thing of going, oh, I've lost.
Well, I suppose this is it, you see. This is it. We're starting from if I do that, will have the feeling of loss. Whereas they're starting from, I will have the feeling of winning.
Yeah, it's just a character of a person, isn't it? Yeah, so who's the better person in all?
Or maybe we're just mean.
I mean, I'm not a tight fist either.
Yeah. No, I'm not. It just seems a waste, really, doesn't it? And obviously, you know, as they say, people who take bets make more money than people who make bets. Yeah. That's why casinos are all posh, isn't it?
We don't.
Apart from Donald Trump's one.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, we don't condone betting, but I've nothing against it.
Yeah.
I won't do it for me. Now, Michelle will have a bet on the horses, that
Grand National.
The Grand National that they do. She has a bet on that. I can't watch it because I don't really want to see an horse go through that for men, or women as well. Okay, so I think if you're gonna stake a bet, then you have to be prepared to risk something of you. You don't say I'm going to put the horse through this and then I win. Right, okay, so that's I don't like horse racing for that. But people who go horse racing, do it. Go ahead and do it. I'm nothing against it.
But that feeling that if you're going to make a bet, you've got to be prepared to stake something of you, brings us back to this.
So, okay, I was going to say this until the end, but would you, for a car, for a Jag, would you put with a Zippo lighter, let's put this all into context. You've got a Zippo lighter, which it's a great light. We know, we've said.
Yeah.
And there's a car there, and you've got your little finger. Would you do it?
No. I mean, as I say, I wouldn't bet £2, not any more than £2. And this is what I was saying about how would you prepare for it. You see, because if I was going to do it, then what I'd think is, well, I'll have a few goes to just to see
if you're going to wear it out then.
Exactly, and I think with probability. You then have to have a longer string of it working. Yeah.
So you need it to fail once and then start it.
Yeah, but then would you start it on a failure because you think, oh no, it's failed?
So
do you prepare for it or don't you?
Here's where the 4 Rooms story is slightly different.
Right.
The outcome I won't mention, but here's where the story is different. Is that in order to set this up, they work out what they're going to do when the finger comes off.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
So,
right.
so that's the bit that's missing for me from here is I'll be saying, okay, I accept this is going to happen, right? I've got faith, but in case it goes wrong, we need a bucket of ice,
Yeah.
okay, and I need some towels right there, and I want to know where the doctors are, or the hospital. It's going to be a hospital, isn't it?
Well, of course, in this day and age, they'd probably be able to reattach it. In 1979, they wouldn't be able to.
Do you think they wouldn't be able to
But back then,
I
don't think they could in those days. I don't know.
It's not a thing.
I think it's sort of newish, isn't it?
But they've obviously sent people to. I mean, 2 world wars have happened,
yeah.
and plus a lot of other wars. They've got guns, and they've got lots of casualties from those wars.
Yeah, and they can do the best, but your best changes over the years, doesn't it? And
That's going to be a clean chop, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's going to be bone fracturing in there, unless you get it right down the knuckle. But then
I'm just feeling my bone now. I'm feeling quite weak. I don't want to talk about this anymore. So we return then. The bet is happening. We've got some lovely close-ups by Touche Turtle, and we've got the start the countdown. Okay, now first thing, I thought this guy looked like Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, right, Deadpool.
Deadpool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great film. You
Yeah.
recommended it to me.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be any good, but it was brilliant.
Yeah, well, I'm not really a sort of comic hero sort of person, you know what I mean? But, so I didn't fancy it when it came out. But then you said, oh, you know, you ought to, because I think you'd seen it at the cinema on your own.
I saw it with a friend, and then I realised it was the sort of superhero movie that Michelle would like, which she did. She loved. So I thought it was brilliant. It did what for superhero movies. It did for superhero movies the same that Guardians of the Galaxy did, which is it rewrote that structure of saying, here's a situation, here's your hero and how he becomes a hero, and here's the ending, right? Okay. Whereas those 2 movies, you felt like you were part of this story. You really did feel like you were part of. It's made believe.
Yeah.
It's made believe. It's make believe. It's make believe, and I felt that with both those 2 films, which is what comic books are. They're make believe. You should. It's a way out of reality. And people who sit in parks on Saturdays talking about Marvel films, do they do that? Do people sit in parks on Saturdays?
I've not seen it, but then I don't go looking.
Yeah, maybe they do. I don't know. They're doing the Pokemon stuff. Are you still doing Pokemon?
No, I got up to that level 22, and it just became too difficult, really. I'll tell you what, it sort of annoys me, because you can have different sort of size balls. I don't know if they're different size, but like there's ordinary Pokeballs, better Pokeballs, and really good Pokeballs. And as you get higher up, you get the creatures escaping from the balls. So you might get like some small 10-point creature, and I've thrown my biggest ball at it, and I've got it, and it said nice or something like that, right? And I'm thinking, there's no way on earth that deserves to escape. I've done a nice throw, I've got my biggest ball on it, right? And it escapes. And I think, if you're going to do that, I'm not going to play. So I've lost faith in it, to be honest.
Well, I'm still doing it, my boy.
Where have you got up to?
Level 19.
Oh, well, wait till you get in the 20s. It all changes.
Well, maybe it will. I mean, the thing is, I used to do it whenever I had a spare moment and just look to see what was going on. Now, I only really look when I know there's a Pokestop around.
Yeah.
I tell you what I'll do. It'll be the difference between finding a Pikachu and just giving up, because that's the reason I wanted to get into this in the first place. You should have a Pikachu and then I'm out.
Right. Well, I mean, the level the sort of devotion I had to it was, if we went out in the car, I would have Elle collecting every time we went by a Pokestop, and she was good about it. She'd do it. I don't think she enjoyed it. She didn't play.
Charlie does this.
Yeah.
Charlie will ask to do that, so I don't need to ask him to do that. But I tried to get it on his phone. That we had the same account, and he didn't want to.
Oh, right.
So I don't know what the deal is there.
You can sell them, you know.
What?
You can sell Pokemon. I don't know whether you still can, but they were for sale on like eBay and
So
stuff
that means
like
you can
that.
buy them as well.
Yeah.
How do you go about buying them?
Well, I suppose.
You buy the account almost.
Yeah.
Right.
And then.
Oh, I'm not interested in that.
Well, there's no point at all, is
No.
there? It's like sort of. I don't know. It's like reading the last page of a book first or something, and then saying, "Oh no, I'll tell you what it's like." Train Spotters, right? When I was a kid, I bought it used to be a book by Ian Allen, and it had then got all the numbers of all the trains in it. That's all, nothing else.
Yeah.
And when you saw one of these trains, you crossed it off.
Yeah.
Well, buying somebody else's Pokemon account would be like buying that Ian Allen book and then just crossing all the numbers out.
Oh
Totally
yeah, I suppose.
totally
Yeah.
pointless.
You've not done any work.
There's
for it.
nothing.
Yeah.
There's no achievement.
Yeah. Well, unless you work backwards.
What? Write them in again.
So, we get to the part where he starts to do the lighter. Now, I've written these down as like a score sheet.
Oh, right.
Okay, first one. What happens, Rob, do you think? Do you think he gets it, or do you think he doesn't get it? Bearing in mind that you've seen this, and this is fairly irrelevant.
On the basis that I've seen it, I would think that he does get it.
Yes, he does. He gets the first 5, okay, fine.
Right.
But, and we were talking about this, how even though we've seen it, we know what happens, right? But when you rewatch it, you're sort of like, you that ending could have gone either way. It's a weird, bizarre bit of film work.
Because I was thinking, if you were somebody who were to say, make a film centering around somebody lighting their lighter, it'd be very difficult to make it suspenseful. But this one is so good at it, even though I'd seen it before and knew the outcome, it still drew me in. Absolutely.
And at this point, they mention it's half time, or we've got halfway, he says. We get to number 6 as well, at which point Kathy then yells, "Stop!"
Yeah.
Okay, and then she's like, "Oh, fuck this, I'm going."
But it doesn't.
But it doesn't. He says, "Please stay, I need you to stay here."
Yeah.
Right, okay. So then we've got, so we're up to number 7 now. Okay, so that's 7, 8, 9, and the final one, 10. Okay, now then. So we know that he's done the first 6. 7 is about to happen. At which point did you think, initially, I mean, not in hindsight, but at which point did you think it was going to fail or win or whatever? What did you think was going to happen next?
Well, on the basis that it's an unexpected tale.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Then what you got to do is work out what you would have expected to happen at that stage.
I expected it to have lit all the way, at 10 out of 10. Right, that was my expectation.
And he chopped his finger off anyway.
No, because that would have been the unexpected bit. So this is what. So I thought the expected bit was it'll be 10 out of 10. Right. The unexpected bit is it'll fail on number 10.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But is that the unexpected bit? Is that the expected bit? Oh, he's not going to get it. It'll fail at the last one because that's how screenplays work.
Well, once you start trying to play forward and thinking what the outcome is, then all outcomes become expected.
Yes, that's right, which is why it gets number 7, okay, and then Carlos's wife comes in. So this is fucking brilliantly unexpected because we thought it was all down to the lighter, and it's actually his wife that stops the thing. She comes in, she's yells in Spanish. Now I don't know any of the words.
No,
it wasn't subtitled, which I think is quite nice. It's not. There's no patronising behaviour here, but she says "stupido," okay, which I'm guessing was is Spanish for
stupid.
Stupid, probably. Yeah. And then she yells out. No, she shouldn't yell out. She explains to the other guys he's crazy. Okay, now she then has a bit of a dialogue. Okay, again, it's with an accent, and I didn't pick up all of it. But what I understood is that he has done this in the past and has got 47 fingers
and 11 cars.
And he's lost 11 cars.
11 cars, yeah.
Okay,
right.
And this is not a small bet. Right, that's her point. Okay, Ralston says, "Oh, thank God this is over." Thank God this is over. He says, the woman she becomes like really, really poignant to this part of the story because then she explains the unexpected bit, which is that he has no car. It's actually her car, and that this bet this is what he always does, and he's obviously she never mentions it, but he's obviously lost his mind somewhere along the way, and he
probably
does this,
before he started doing these bets.
Yeah, I'm going to say this is now taken over him. So which is why when he's sitting with this English guy, that guy could have been the guy he had the bet with if
Yeah.
Tommy hadn't.
Well, he approached him, didn't he? And
Yeah.
if they weren't in cahoots, then it could be that that's what he was hoping to
Yeah.
do.
But
I wonder. This is why I said earlier: is it all? It's maybe just the forfeiture that's the link. It can't always be that he finds 58 people who believes in their lighter so much that they'll bet a finger on it. So does he have other bets?
It's not going to be lighter every time, is it?
It's not, is
it? For him, the lighter in that conversation that they had initially was clearly just the trigger. There's a bet I could have.
I can have my bet.
I can have
He
my
was going to
bet.
think of it as my bet.
Bet.
Yeah.
And I can, you see with Tales of the Unexpected, there you never know the backstory. It's a snapshot of life, and then what happens before or after, you never know.
No.
Okay. So but what I'd like to think is that maybe there is something that's persuaded him to do this. Maybe he's had to. When I was watching Jonathan Creek the other day, and there was this great episode where there's a guy who makes a deal with the devil. He sells his soul to the devil, and you don't know. I mean, whether this was written up initially as he has to make these bets because his life he constantly has to make these bets. This is his purpose on earth. You never really know what's going on with this guy and why he's having to do this.
Well, or is the suggestion that this is a deal with the devil?
Exactly.
Carlos is in fact the devil himself.
The man from the south, which would be Dante's Inferno, wouldn't it? Right from the depths of hell.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? That?
Yeah.
Because then that ties in with what we noticed on the intro sequence was the devil's mask.
Yeah.
Which it kind of like stuck with us as kids, and as well as the dancing lady.
As did the tarot card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's all about. It is that maybe every single person in this has been affected by, that sort of not necessarily devil, but dark, the dark magic and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
The woman is not credited with having a name. She is just called Woman. Right. She's played by what's her name now? It is.
She's called Katie Gerardo,
and she's classically like this. She's Hispanic. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah, Latin in looks, and looks like she has quite a big film career actually.
Well, I'm wondering if she was in High Chaparral. Did you used to watch that?
No.
Oh right. It was like a cowboy show, a bit like Bonanza. Have you seen that?
I remember Bonanza.
Well, it was a bit like that, and they had this ranch, and Big John Cannon was in it. He was the sort of, Leif Erikson played him, I think it was, and he was the ranch owner, and he was married to a woman who looks a bit like Katie Gerardo.
Or
Gerardo.
Yeah.
She her brother was in it.
In High Chaparral.
Yeah, I mean not a real brother.
But she wasn't in it.
He was Manolito, I don't know. But he was sort of quite a sexy sort of like one of those like bullfighter type men.
Matador.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't
Toreador.
But he wore one of them little coats.
Waistcoats. Yeah.
And there was Uncle Buck, who was
John Candy.
It wasn't, in fact, John Candy, but he was Big John's brother. But he was a bit sort of. He was a lot more easygoing and stuff. You could see why Big John was in charge of the ranch.
Right, okay.
Because he was sort of like, oh yeah, okay. And then Blue Boy, who was wasn't Blue, who was Big John's son. Anyway, I thought that it might be her.
But it's not.
But I don't think it is, no.
Well, she is only credited as being called Woman in this, so
right.
she's probably just an extra. Anyway, she plays this part fantastic. Turns out, obviously, as it was said, it's her car that he's betting with. And when Ralston says, here are your keys, and there's this really long shot, so it's kind of like this, or not a long shot, but a long shot coming into a close-up of the keys being placed delicately on the table.
Yeah, so you know something's
about to kick off here, and when she goes to pick up the keys, you see that she only has 2 fingers and a thumb.
Yeah.
2 of her fingers are missing.
She says he's got nothing to bet with. I've won everything of it from him. it's taken a long time.
And I did write down that she's won everything from him.
Yeah,
so that's why.
So there you go. Although she's obviously had a couple of losses along the way.
Only a couple.
Yeah,
which is quite good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So she's the winner. So what we don't know is what happens next. Whether he's going to be committed or something like that. But
I think
probably not. He's a prisoner, isn't he? To her.
Yeah.
So she's the evil person.
Well, she's sort of. I don't know. She's forced him to move. Now, should she have turned him into... Well, the authorities knew about it, I think.
Yes, yeah, that's the way I got it, yeah.
So, she's above board there. She's just said to him, look, we're going to have to go here. She doesn't want him to do it. She's angry that he's doing it. So perhaps she's not the evil one. She's trying to wean him off that. There is a time when she's fed his sort of obsession.
Well, so if she was super evil with this... then she might have allowed this to happen, but she seemed to be pretty angry about it. And she put him in his place. He looked he kind of like,
Cowers.
Yeah, he gets into his chair. He's not anything of the man he once was, and she's obviously in charge. So that's where the episode ends. And then we've got the title music, which we wanted to talk about at some point. We will probably have to do it on another episode. But as it goes, it's like you're just left hanging with that news, and it is whether this was that unsettling. I think it was tense in places, but I wouldn't say unsettling because that happened outside of my world. It doesn't affect me, and I know what I do about it. But still, you go away thinking, I really want to know what happens next. I want to be in the room for the next 5 minutes to find out what happens next. Yeah. That's the beauty of these shows.
For me, as I say, I was 15, but it did provide a bit of a hook. And then I would watch them all.
I guess that's what the point is. You've got this great starting episode. Maybe the reason why this was filmed first, this was shown first, but not filmed first,
is because it's the hook.
Exactly that. Is because it had the better intro to the whole thing. We don't know at this stage. There's nothing online that suggests it. Maybe somebody could help us out with this, but we don't know whether, as a result of the first series, another one was commissioned. It could have been that 2 were commissioned or 3 or something like that. But certainly, as far as episode 1, season 1 goes, this is massive news. As we said, it's left a legacy. Because it's been used in a number of different kind of movies and storylines, where the unexpected bit is kind of like all the way through it, as we said, and the final twist in the tale is probably not what you were expecting, even though you're told to expect something that's not expected. And that's where we leave it. So, next week, episode 2 is something about Mrs. Bixby.
It's Mrs. Bixby and the Colonel's coat, and this... basically revolves around a woman whose lover gives her a mink coat, and I'll say nothing more about it than that at this stage.
Oh, Ming.
Mink!
Oh, right.
It's not a Ming vase.
Oh, I knew that Ming was valuable. I just didn't... Mink is a cat?
I think it's some sort of rodent.
Oh, right.
I think.
Let's leave it there. Guys... thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on more unexpected tales about the tales of the unexpected tales of the unexpected tales. You gotta go.